you had a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to running you through another session tonight. We'll just make sure the volume's good. You should see the Dropbox folder on your screen. All good, fantastic. Welcome, gentlemen. Have a let's get started. Let's go through quickly the Dropbox folder. I just wanted to. We've got a couple of new people. We'll be recording this session, so this will go out to a couple of our new members as well. One of the things that as a new member or a member you're going to want to have access to is our GMT Pro Traders Platinum member 2016. So if you're a current member, an active member, you should have access to this Dropbox folder. It's important that you do have access to this folder because this is the most active, up-to-date Dropbox folder that we're running. So that's the Platinum Members 2016. So please let me know that whether you've got access or not. You should see it when you log into Dropbox. I will have sent a link out. The link will come out as Pro Traders link. It'll be under my Gmail Traders 500 address. And so I think some people are getting it caught in spam or their junk. So just double check that you've got access to that. Email me back if you haven't, and I can resend it to you. And I'll let you know that I've resent it as well. So very important where you've got access to that. We'll just double click on that for a second. So within this Dropbox folder, we've been through this a couple of times, but I'll do a quick run through. As I said before, we're just adding more and more content all the time. So within SkyPrep, so if you log into SkyPrep, everybody knows that SkyPrep is pretty much our main. Let me just move this over for a second. I'll just log in now while I'm chatting. SkyPrep is where our modules are. So any of the training modules that you're doing at the moment, that's where the ongoing training will be updated, or your training modules will appear in SkyPrep, and that's tracking your process going through the modules and through the course. Dropbox, however, on the other hand, is the more active modules or the more active workspaces that we're running with the systems. So if you're tracking a portfolio, you're up to the stage where you're in module 11, module 12, or you're going through the simulated challenge, you're definitely going to want, or your live trading, you're definitely going to want to have access to those folders, because we're moving systems from 2015 over to 2016. We're previewing new systems every week, and the new systems we're going to be dropping in Dropbox, obviously, too, to help you get access to better systems and better performance. So that's really the goal for the Dropbox folder. Now, within SkyPrep, you can't really put we're not putting in workspaces or anything. We're not constantly updating SkyPrep in that manner. So Dropbox is your more active folder. SkyPrep is your training, your individual training folder, or your training membership portal. So that's a little bit of an update there. So I'm going to bring that back over to Sky. Just bring this back over. So if you go into the Platinum area, we've got our top 10 systems. Each week we're going to be uploading the top 10 for that week, and then rolling them over for the next week, just reviewing the systems, the workplace, the workstation, the workplace, sorry, and making sure that each of the systems is updated. Now, this week is week 14, so we're going to be dropping all of the systems that we consider to be our top systems in week 14. Some of those systems may look familiar. They may be systems that we traded last year, like Fib Trader 01. So they're really going to be, the reason why they would fall into this category in our top 10 is because purely at the moment on performance, on profit, but obviously as we continue on through the next month or two, we're going to have different rankings for systems, and it's important that that you're looking at not just your overall profit, but obviously, as we discuss a number of times in the room, your average trade net profit. It might be your max drawdown, it might be your percentage win rate, and there will be certain elements that you're going to want to kind of give more credence to as far as your performance. I'll just move this over here, and we'll have a look at an example of that in a second. So if you are tracking the systems, the other thing is too that you're going to want to be documenting, or you're going to be wanting to keep a record of how the systems are performing. We're using the system performance grid, and I'll just give you an example of that in a second. That's just showing the overall profit and loss every week of how the systems are performing. So we're keeping a P&L. Now, if I say, for example, go into week 12, I download this workspace, and then I roll that forward a couple of weeks. Remember that the system that I've downloaded in week 12 might be slightly different to the system I've downloaded in week 14. So it's important that when you're monitoring these systems, particularly if there's an optimization being done on the strategy, that system's performance is going to change, isn't it? So just make sure that if you are tracking systems that you download the current one, and that just check to see if there's been an optimization done on that. Because if we optimize the system, say for example we pull up a strategy and we run an optimization, then we're definitely going to have different results. That's basically just what happens when we do an optimization, isn't it? So if we're tracking our system's performance based on a performance over a period of 52 weeks, then the only way we're going to be able to, and I'll just show you so this would be the performance grid. So every week we're going to add in, how that system's performing, whether the system is a new system, whether it's live traded, or whether it's being tested in live, or whether it's just being tested. We've mentioned this a couple of times in the room, but it's important that you know that, alright, well, if a system does appear on this grid, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's being live traded. You've got to make sure that, alright, well, even if it is being live traded, you've still got to do your due diligence, don't you? You've got to go into the strategy and you've got to work out, and we mentioned this 2 weeks ago, that if I download a system and I'm going to track that going forward, that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to track it going forward. I'm going to make sure that, alright, well, I'm going to download, say, week 13. If I download week 13 results and I look at the historical performance on week 13, is every single week going to match up perfectly in that performance grid for my system for week 13? Or could it have been that if I open my system up for week 13, that the performance is slightly different on my strategy if I look back over the last 13 weeks? Yeah, so when you run an optimization, and you should be doing it every 4 weeks as a protocol, but I'll touch on that again in a minute. When you run that, those results that look back period, or that period that you've optimized, that data is different now. So unless you're capturing that data on a weekly basis, which we suggest you do, and logging that into your either your portfolio management spreadsheet or into your mandate calculator, you don't have a history of your trades. So we definitely want to be doing that. We want to have a history of our trades and see exactly how it's performed, from when we first started. Like this one here is the 29th of January 2015. So this has got a huge history, T24. We've been tracking this for a long time. Obviously the average trade net profit has slipped over that period, so it's really starting to drop down a little bit. But we're still tracking that system. We've got in slippage and commissions. We want to build that into every system we're trading, and you have to have your slippage and commission in your performance report. You don't have to have it in the built into the PME, because it'll, when you drop this data in, when you copy your trade list, it should automatically be in there. With any system you're producing, you're always going to have your slippage and commission built in. That should always be in there. So if I'm looking at this mandate calculator, or the PME, so Greg, you're using the mandate calculator, but we do this in the mandate calculator, but we're going to be, you've got an option. You can either do it on the PME or the mandate calculator. Either one, you want to keep that process going. And what it does is it just makes sure that you've got. Now you can go back and historically do that if you haven't done that, and it's quite an easy process. You're just copying the actual trade list and putting it into your spreadsheet. So all of the videos for that are in the actual spreadsheets Dropbox folder. So I would suggest that you do that just to keep a history of your system, and that way, whether it's the mandate calculator or the PME, you've just got a really good history of what's happening with your strategy, and you can move to this table here, which is quite good for kind of measuring performance. So this is where we see, right, well, which of our systems, of the systems we're tracking, is actually, and this is an example of one of the portfolios, one of Darren's portfolios, which one of our systems is doing really well, what's its average trade net profit, and then we can start putting some benchmarks in ourselves, can't we? We can say, right, well, what's my most important thing that I want to focus in on with this portfolio I'm tracking? Because you may not be trading every system in this portfolio. It may not be feasible to do that because of your margin or your whatever the scenario is. But at least if you've got a set of systems that you're tracking, then you can have a ranking system, can't you? You can say, well, the most important thing for me obviously is average trade net profit. Then I'm going to make sure that my systems are ranked highest to lowest on average trade net profit, and then that's how I'm going to make my decisions. I'm going to definitely have no system I'm going to trade is going to no system will get through my my vetting unless it's over $200 average trade net profit. Now, when you set a high benchmark like this, and these guys, Darren and Dave, have done that because they've got massive, well, $2.50 and $10 isn't huge, but some of the slippage and commission in these systems is huge, like $5 and $50, and you've got $2.50 and $10. So they've whatever it is, $20 commission, $50 slippage. So they've really built strategies where they've said, right, well, instead of building the strategy, adding the slippage and commission, they've done it the other way around, and you can see that they've been able to do that and still hit that excellent average trade net profit. So they're the same but different. So the Portfolio Manager Elite spreadsheet is slightly different. It's offering the same information. The only difference is that you're restricted in the PME because we can only put in 10 systems here. So if we're tracking our top 10 systems, which we are, which I'll add to a spreadsheet like this. So if we go back to our top 10 systems, we don't want to just see the top 10 systems ranked like this. Like, it's great to see, this is just a quick summary of which system's making the most money in profit, and I've added in their average trade net profit over the last 3 months as well. But there's more to the system than this, isn't there? There's more detail that we want to see. Our top 10, we want to see with our top 10, and I'll put that PME spreadsheet in there. So don't worry about, if you are thinking about building this PME spreadsheet with your top 10, then I would definitely wait till say Friday, Saturday, and I'll have the top 10 updated in this PME spreadsheet, and we'll track that, because that way you've at least got your top 10 that you're tracking. You don't have to worry about doing that. So if you were thinking about doing it yourself, don't put the time and effort in. Someone else will be doing that, so that's okay. But you can see it's when we start looking at the system management and ranking the systems based on our criteria or our benchmarks, this becomes very valuable, because then you can start ranking the system based on what it is, what's the most critically important thing to you, whether it's return on investment, whether it's how much money per day you're making. Like, some of these things are very deceptive, because we've spoken about this in the past. You can have a great, really, really good system that has a huge profit. I've seen them sent to me a number of times by traders saying, oh, have you seen this performance report, and the profits in there are like $60,000-$70,000, and you think, wow, that's fantastic. But then you drill down and you look at the win rate, or you look at the max drawdown, and then you look at the average trade net profit, and the story just gets really ugly. Like, you've got an average trade net profit of $6.20 and a drawdown of $9,000. Those systems are no commission or slippage built in. So, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to set the benchmark high for the systems by making it very, very hard for a system to get into our top 10, and then make it hard because it's got the realistic cost to trade in built into the system, and that it's going to be a very simple strategy. It performs well. It is built based on market conditions and not trying to meet every condition in the market. And that's why when we start going through our price action systems, you're going to enjoy trading and tracking those, because they're really based on they're going to be based on pure price action. So not really many indicators as such, but just basic pattern setups. And that's what, you'll find that within our top 10, if we go to our top 10 systems here, you'll see that some of the top 10 systems, and you'll see more of this as we start releasing more of them, they're starting to be these these pivot strategies, or these pennant strategies, these price action type. I mean, still the Fortress and the Trend Trader and the Viper, they're all doing pretty well, but it'll be interesting to see how the price action systems do compared to the more indicator-based strategies, if you understand where I'm coming from. So, because remember that the indicator-based strategies, as I said before, are not going to have the price action strategies are not going to have a real huge basis on actual indicator sets. They're going to be more based on pure price action, which leads us to our next topic, which is our trade rules for the inside bar strategy. So last week we covered the trade rules for the reversal, or the pin bar reversal, and that system we'll do a quick refresher of that system. So can anybody tell me why that strategy is such a successful strategy, the pin bar reversal? What elements make up the pin bar reversal? So I'll give you a minute to just think about it. For those of you who attended, that would be awesome to get your feedback on what were the elements that made up and what was so successful about the pin bar reversal. And while you're thinking about that, we'll start talking about the inside bar strategy, and then we'll come back and just do a recap of why the pin bar reversal is such a successful strategy, and why it's such a good system to have as part of your overall your strategy build. Because remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put together a price action multi-system strategy. So we're looking at several elements similar to what we do with our multi-system strategy at the moment, where we've got a breakout system, we have a pullback, we have what we call a counter trend system, a reversal, we've got the trending system, so we've got multiple momentum systems. These systems are really there and designed to give you an indication of what different phases of the market. So we know that there's always going to be different phases in the market that we're looking to take advantage of. So the idea is that we've got a lot of strategies that are indicator based on different phases of the market. So what are we looking for now to add to that? What elements are we looking to add? We're looking to add more of a price action multi-system strategy, because we've got our indicator based multi-system strategy. If we look at our list of systems here, we've got the Trend, the Viper, the Cycle, the Fib Trader. So you've got a continuation trader, you've got a retracement, you've got a cyclical type system, which is basically tipping in and tracking overbought oversold conditions. We've got the Viper, which is momentum based. We've got a Trend. We've got a Fortress, which is a bit of a breakout strategy. We have a breakout strategy, which is here as well, which is breaking support resistance. So these are all based around indicators driving the entries. So our focus now and over the next few weeks is to get really good at acknowledging, or not acknowledging, but recognizing these systems and these, or not these systems, but these entries on basic price charts, and then overlaying that with a few elements that help us confirm the entry point, not just taking on pure price. Because what else can we use with? I mean, obviously, price action is basing your trade entry purely on price action, but what else can you add to your system? That if you're using a price action system, what else can you add to help your confirmation of a trade entry? What other things can you add to that? We're going to have a look at that Asian indicator in a minute too. So I'm going to just set up for that as well. So the question is, what else can we add to our strategy that can help us confirm? So Greg's got extent of number of bars, yeah. So we've got, Troy's got volume. So this is a good one. Like, volume is, we'll go through each of these answers. Volume is an excellent addition, because they're basically, with price action, a lot of 90% of your indicators are based on price, aren't they? They're based on price. They're deriving their inputs from their algorithms from price. So as price is reflected in the price bars, that is then converted into indicators that give you an idea of what's happening on the charts and how you can kind of best take advantage of that. So if we're looking at at price-based indicators, what are our indicators predictive or reactive indicators? They're all reactive, aren't they? They're lagging indicators, so they don't have any predictive qualities within them. So if we look at the answers we've got here, because the answers you've given are excellent, because they really kind of tip us in the direction we're heading with our price action system. What if we're looking at, so at the moment we're currently using lagging indicators. There are a couple of indicators that have a predictive nature, like your MACD. Your MACD is a predictive type indicator, isn't it? Because it's forecasting. What's your MACD forecasting? It's not a guaranteed prediction, but what's your MACD forecasting? Yeah, it's forecasting the momentum of the market you're trading. So the key there really for us is that, all right, well, the MACD is a predictive indicator. It's got a certain amount of predictiveness to it, because it's indicating momentum, and it's also telling us that there's potential divergence in the market. And when we have divergence, that means that potentially we've got an opportunity to either be a buyer or seller in the market. So we have the other thing that we've got, and this is what Troy mentioned, volume is the other big thing. So if we can tap into volume as well as price, we've got the two most powerful elements of trading, haven't we? We've got the volume, which is, your order flow, where the strength of the trend is, or where the strength of the market is as far as support, resistance, your order flow, whether there's that equilibrium in the market, or whether we're getting that imbalance between the buyers and sellers. So if we tap into volume as well as price action, we've got a very, very robust and very potentially a very valuable system, because we're using the two key elements. And if we use our moving average, or our MACD, as a confirmation filter, that also helps us to stack the probabilities in our favor as well. So we're looking at some really key elements. So our price action system is going to be tapping into using the MACD. It's going to look at using volume. It's also going to look at higher timeframes. We mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. The higher timeframe element is critical. Why is higher timeframe so important? What's so critical about higher time frame? It's a confirmation. It gives you a look at the big picture. If you've got several elements of several levels of trade entering in the same direction. You've got that market confirmation. You've got, you're kind of trading with high probabilities, aren't you? Because if you're looking to go long on the shorter term, and you're long on the and you've got a bullish trend on, say, the medium and longer term, then really you're stacking the probabilities in your favor. And this is where this confluence, or this combination of multiple confirmations within your strategy, not only just price action, because should we be trading purely on, I mean, there's a lot of talk about, you don't need anything but price. But the trouble is that that's okay, but there's a couple of things that you do need to have to confirm price action, don't you? So ideally, you want to have, what are the things that you really need to confirm price action to get into a trade? What are some of the things that are critical and will help you? I mean, we're looking at, we're looking at making sure that we increase our edge every time we go into the market. So to increase your edge, you need to increase your probabilities, and to increase probabilities, you're going to want to stack the things up that statistically increase your chances of having a winning trade and increasing your edge. So those things are things, as we said before, we want to, if we're going to go into the market and we're going to take a trade, we want to have price action first and foremost. We want to ideally have a look at the bigger picture, so the higher time frame and lower time frame comparison. We want to have a confluence, so things lining up for us, like volume. If we're looking to go long, we want to have volume divergence on the short side, and vice versa. And there's another thing that we have within our inputs that we don't use a lot, but it's our key level. Key levels really identify support resistance, and we can also use another thing called pivot zones. So we've got dynamic support resistance, but there's another element within the market called pivot zones. It's where you get these critical pivot points within the market, and that's a good way of kind of adding in confluence as well. So these things will help us to put together a strategy for confirming price action entries. So when we look at price action as our price action system, we're not just saying, right, well, and we'll bring up the doco here again. We're not just saying if your trade rules, say for example for an inside bar strategy, our trade rule is that we need for a bearish inside bar, we need to see a bearish bar, then we need to see a price bar close within the bearish bar, that it's a bullish bar, and then that's where we get our inside bar, and then we have our breakout bar. So this bearish inside bar, what could we add to our bearish inside bar rules? So an A B bar formation circled, where B, either bullish or bearish, is inside the bearish A bar. So there's your this B bar, which is basically your blue bar on this graphic here. That can be either a bullish or bearish bar, but it has to be within the parameters, or the high and low of that previous A bar. Now, for us, what else may we see here that could help us to confirm a trade entry? I mean, obviously we're looking for price to close below this cluster, so you're getting a little bit of a pennant formation here. So you've got your breakout where price closes below the low of that candle, similar to what we had with our pin bar reversal. But what other elements could we add to our strategy input to confirm our entry here? So it's a very, very simple trade setup. It's basically an inside bar strategy. It's like a little pennant type breakout. This can occur on multiple time frames. So there's a clue. What can we have here that allows us to take a trade based on an inside bar strategy? Because we're not just purely trading on price action. Yeah, so we might get a spike in volume to the downside. We could get in this bar count here on a higher time frame or lower time frame. We may get divergence of buyers, because if we've got a bullish bar here or an inside bar here, but it's a bullish candle, then we have a slightly bearish candle. We may have one or two candles where we've got that volume divergence, and then we have volume to the downside on the breakout. Yeah, and then this could be potentially an initial break of a level, and then this could be your retest of a level here. So we could get a retest of dynamic support resistance, which would come in as our pivot support resistance. So they're all things that we can add into our price action, but I want you to start thinking over the next couple of weeks. All right, well, as we start rolling this system out and we start doing more and more of these training videos and this training, we're looking at, all right, well, we're looking at layering our entry rules and making sure that we're just not trading purely on price action. We're going to have some additional confirmation tools to get into trades. That's really where we're at. It's making sure that we definitely have that ability to kind of add additional inputs. Now, if you notice here, this could be a series of pullbacks. These inside bar trade setups, if you're in a very long trend, whether it's a bullish long trend or a bearish long trend, you're potentially gonna find that you get a number of these inside bar setups, aren't you? Because they're like a continuation of the trend. So when we look at these setups and we have a long trending market, would there be a probability of success for these inside bar trade entries? Like if you look at this inside bar entry being part of a trend entry or a continuation of a trend, what's one of the things we're going to be measuring with our inside bar setup as far as the number of entries on a trending move? Because remember, you're going to have your first entry of the inside bar on a breakout. You're going to have probably your second entry, your third entry. At what point does the probability of having a winning trade start to diminish on these inside bar entries? Do you think that if we have multiple entry setups, that statistically our probability of being right on direction is going to diminish over the number and time of entries? So when we start logging our trade entries, we're going to be wanting to track what sequence of the inside bar entry this is as part of the overall trend. So what I want you to do as traders is I want you to start thinking about when you're looking at your price action systems, I want you to start thinking about, okay, I'm trading price action. I want to make sure that I'm obviously monitoring my system. I want to see what the overall sequence is when I'm tracking my system. So what phase of the market am I in? So when you're tracking these price action systems, I want you to think about it in relation to what phase of the market am I in. And that's one of the things we're going to really concentrate as we go forward, because that's going to be important for us to allow us to kind of trade these systems with the greatest success. So guys, any questions on our price action? The inside bar is very, very simple. It's not complex at all. It's quite simple and quite a good little tool. Any questions on the inside bar before I start talking about our Asian filter, our Asian indicator? Okay, excellent. All right, so just a quick look at here. Our this is one of the indicators that we've just had coded up for one of our traders, and I'm going to make this available to our group as well. One of the things that we've been asked to do is code it, and I thought this was a great little idea, is to code an indicator up that plots the Asian session only, and then what it does is it plots the Asian session, and then basically provides multiple standard deviations above and below that level of where the Asian market finished, and potentially what kind of price movement is there for the day. So what the indicator does is it plots the high and low the Asian market. Now we know that if you're trading the Asian market, that's the kind of setup for the day. That range establishes potentially where the market's going to not go, but what the starting ranges are, and you can get some. You can get some really good information in relation to that opening Asian session and a potential move either above or below that market or that range within the first couple of hours of the European session and then the US session. So for those of you who are interested in kind of getting a copy of that as well, let me know, because I'm going to make that available to our traders, because this is something that Robert sent through, and I thought it was really good, and I wanted to share it with the group. He's got some good stuff that he's doing on the forex, and this is quite a good little indicator. I'm also having a look at the weekly pivots as well that we'll get coded up to, and we'll make that available to our group, as well as a couple of other indicators that we're putting together. So we're not necessarily obviously using the indicators to trade off, but what is going to be interesting is that the indicators are going to help us to do what with our price action, or if we develop up an indicator that we see has potential, we can build that into a strategy, can't we? We can have a reference point back to a market. Or so if you've got, say for example, this Asian indicator, or you've got a weekly pivot or a daily pivot, what can that do? How can we build that into our strategy to take advantage of that pivot or that level that we're trading? And we'll use the price action analogy as a good starting point. What could we do with our indicator to build a filter within our strategy? If you're trading the currency pairs and you have the setup for the day of, say for example, the Asian high and low, and your strategy is running the Euro Yen or the Aussie Yen or one of the yen crosses, what could be anything, the US Yen, what could you potentially use this range for within your strategy? Yeah, so a breakout, definitely. We get it as a filter. You'll notice that with the Renko, the Renkos do a really good job of cleaning out price action, but what it does is it does a really good job of when we break out of that range, when we collapse back into the range and we don't make a new high. So if you have a look at, for example, say we break the range and that pivot low gets broken, the previous pivot low, that can potentially be a catalyst for a move in the other direction. So it's interesting to have a look at this range filter. I'll be interested to get your feedback of how we can build that into our strategy. But I've got some ideas, and it looks like a nice simple one. It comes up really well on the Renko chart. So I'm not sure exactly how Robert's trading it, but I'm sure he's using it for something pretty good, because he's doing some good work in relation to some strategy development. But I can see some advantages for our group. I'm going to have a bit more of a chat to him later about that as well. But already I can see that, well, we can use that as potentially as Gary said, a breakout. We can use it as a potential reversal. We can use it within our price action system. So there's ways in which we can use this as a tool for helping us with confluence. So just a nice little simple strategy, as I said before, something that we might want to have a bit of a play with. And there's a couple of other systems that I'll be looking at sending out over the next week or so that we've been working on. And as I said, they're indicators initially, but they might be a really good mechanism for us to generate some good discussion and some good ideas for how we can build that into our strategies, not only our price action system, but also our systems coming up. So guys, that's probably going to wrap us up for tonight. I'm going to do a couple of short videos on our top 10 and just take you through what are our best performing systems. I'll upload the current top 10 into a Dropbox tonight, so you can most of them are in there. So if you jump into to Dropbox, you'll see that they're in there. Feel free to download those workspaces. We've got a couple more to add in, And as I said before, if you do download them, make sure that you put your personal touch on the system. Don't just download it and then start tracking it without kind of customizing it. It's important that you do that. And as I said before, we'll put together our top 10 PME. Don't be too worried if you're tracking the systems using the DLS, because you're either using one or the other spreadsheet. It doesn't really matter. Like I will probably do one top 10 for both, so you've got both spreadsheets set up. So guys, thank you for your time. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a fantastic week. And there's a lot of work. Just as a bit of a heads up, there's a lot of work getting done on the systems, on modifying the systems, on improving the systems, on building new systems. So we're doing a lot of stuff at the moment on system development, probably more than we've ever done. So you'll start seeing a lot more stuff roll out and be put into these Dropbox folders, because not only are we converting our systems to multi-charts because of the demise of TradeStation with Forex, we're also adding in more MT4 systems, which I'll be doing over the next week or so. And we're building up our TradeStation library too. So whatever we have in TradeStation, we're going to build in MT4 and multi-charts. So it may take us a little bit of time, but you will have the ability to trade every single system we have in, or mostly all of the systems we have in those three platforms. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to use platforms other than TradeStation, because we don't want to be hamstrung obviously by just having the one platform. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to get more technically up to speed with MT4 and multi-charts, although multi-charts is basically a version of TradeStation. But stay with us. We'll definitely kind of we'll impress you with what we're going to deliver over the next 12 months. So you're going to be very happy with the new systems that we're rolling out. Now, the other thing too is that as we roll out a strategy, we want to make sure that we do a lot of training in the room as well. So that's why I'm going to be spending the next 2 or 3 weeks just really kind of training you up on the new price action strategy. There's about 5 or 6 elements to the strategy as far as system setup. So it's going to be an all-in-one package. So it's not just we're not going to separate it in as individual systems. It's going to be the price action system, but it's going to have multiple entry types. So we've already covered the pin bar reversal. We've covered the inside bar. So as I said before, nice and simple, but it's going to be very, very effective, and looking forward to kind of taking you through that. So thank you for your time, everyone. Have a fantastic week, and I look forward to catching you next Wednesday. And as I said before, feel free to download the spreadsheets and Dropbox workspaces. And as I said, have a fantastic week. Cheers.